So good morning. Ryan Stannard with the Peace Corps. He's the regional coordinator or recruiter, sorry, for Western PA and West Virginia. Thank you for joining us for this session with this employer Q&A session for WestPACS. So how are you?
Yeah, doing good. It's kind of weird working from home and stuff like that all the time, but I've been a remote worker since 2018, so it's not that big of a shift. So
Right.
yeah, just happy everybody's healthy.
So perfect. So Ryan, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of your role with the organization?
Yeah, so I work for the federal agency known as Peace Corps of the United States, where we take basically anybody that's over 18 and an American citizen, and they go overseas to do service projects for 27 months. We're in over 60 different countries right now. As far as how I'm involved in the organization, I used to be a Peace Corps volunteer. I was serving in the Kingdom of Thailand from 2014 to 2016. Then I came back to the US and I did grad school in Pittsburgh, and then actually was able to get a job with the Peace Corps agency, being the regional recruiter in this area based in Pittsburgh.
Okay, perfect. So what do you find that employees and interns like best about the Peace Corps and about the organization as a whole?
Yeah, so as far as on the agency side, but not the volunteer side, I'd say a lot of people really appreciate that we have a very good work-life balance. We're consistently rated as one of the best places to work in the federal government. We have really high marks on that. When surveys go out year after year, it seems like people are generally happy to be working for an organization with a cool mission like we do. And then, yeah, interns alike, like a lot of them intern before becoming Peace Corps volunteers, like if they're college students. So it's really nice to see like that kind of evolution. They get to see what the agency side is like and then go and be volunteers. Whereas for me, it was like the opposite situation.
Right. Okay.
And then, yeah, just for volunteers themselves, like they really like the fact that, they're supported when they're overseas by an organization like ours. If anything safety wise were to happen, we're there to have their backs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what makes your organization, in your opinion, unique from other companies?
Yeah, no, so we're primarily like a volunteer service organization. So just in terms of like, if people are going to go overseas and do either volunteering or maybe teaching English abroad, we're quite different in that we do offer a lot of community and cultural integration training.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you were to just go over and teach English in Thailand on your own, you most likely wouldn't be given local language training or have a lot of insight to like the culture and practices and things like that, which can make it really hard to integrate into your community, whereas
Right.
we take a big pride on doing that. And then also, yeah, for other volunteer organizations, a lot of them are for very short-term assignments and maybe just don't have as much of like the grassroots impact that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And also a lot of the programs I know of that people go overseas to volunteer with, like they have to pay for everything and it can be kind of expensive and you'd be like in a more privileged position. Whereas on our end of things, we pay for the flight, housing, stipend, like all that kind of stuff. So
Right.
anybody with any means can like have the potential to do it as long as you're a US citizen.
Okay. So what is something that most people don't know or would be surprised to learn about the Peace Corps?
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize we're actually a federal agency. That would be like the most surprising part. We're like a little pocket of the federal government, but we were set up by President Kennedy back in the 1960s as
Okay.
like just being like kind of goodwill ambassadors. That and the fact that we are in quite a few different types of countries. I think people are surprised that we're still in Thailand. Like
Mm-hmm.
we have been there since the 60s, but our mission keeps changing. Like back then we were agriculture and health volunteers, and now we're just primarily education, youth development volunteers, given on like what the country needs.
Right. Okay. And what can you speak to like the benefits that say a student that takes a year of service and serves, are there added benefits for when they come back as far as employment opportunities go and preferred employment?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you serve the 27 months with Peace Corps, like you do get a readjustment allowance at the end of about $10,000, which is really
Okay.
nice. You also do get, as you're alluding to, like non-competitive eligibility,
Okay. Yeah.
which Yeah, which basically gets you a leg up in the federal hiring process. So a lot of Peace Corps volunteers come back and they sometimes work for Peace Corps like I'm doing. And a lot of the people in my cohort went on to work for like citizenship and immigration services as people that administer like citizenship tests, ceremonies, things like that, and also people that are applying for asylum or refugee status or something like that. And also a lot going to work for like the National Park Service, maybe FEMA or the CDC or something like that. So just taking what they've done in Peace Corps and kind of transitioning into a career of the federal government.
Okay. What is something you look for on a candidate's resume?
Yeah, good question. So for resumes, if you're applying, especially for like a specific sector, like if you want to be an education volunteer, it's really good that you have a tailored section at the top that talks about like any and all like tutoring or teaching experience that you've had in the past. So just like highlighting all the relevant skills you would need, just depending on what the sector or the position is asking for. And also the fact that for our resumes, it can be up to 3 pages with a lot of detail. You don't have to just keep it to 1 page like you would do for like a private employer.
Okay. Now, are up to 3 pages, are you saying that candidates could essentially have like a CV compared to just a kind of traditional resume?
Exactly. Yeah. It'd be more of a CV style. And for any federal job, if you're applying for it, it should be that way too, because they want a lot of detail about the things that you've done and the time that you've done it.
Okay. Do you have any specific tips on what students should do and also not do during a virtual job interview or fair?
Yeah, so I've been through a few of these so far, and I'm really gearing up for September to be really busy with them. Some of the things I've noticed so far is that, I mean, just like you would for a normal job fair, try to do at least 5 minutes of research about the company or the booth you're going to go to, just so you don't get there and have to make the employer do all the talking. You should come with your own questions.
Right.
And then especially for virtual interviews, it's still important to dress professionally and make sure you're in a relatively quiet space and can just, actually focus on the screen, not have people in the background, that kind of thing. So it's a better, I think, one-on-one situation rather than at a fair in a hall where you're maybe like distracted.
Right.
So
true. So what opportunities are available for alumni or soon to be alumni and current students with the Peace Corps?
Yeah, so as everybody knows, we're in this situation just due to COVID-19. Back in March, we had to evacuate all of the volunteers from service, but that doesn't mean we're finished. Like, we're going to go back to all of our countries once it's deemed safe to do so.
Right.
So we're still accepting applications for all sorts of different sectors and positions as a volunteer in Peace Corps. So if you are thinking about applying, generally the rule of thumb is apply 8 months before you wish to depart.
Right.
And if you're a senior or soon to be like a graduate, like next year, definitely put in an application this fall to keep your options open. But it's also just really important to be very flexible right now.
Right. Perfect. And Ryan, do you handle any of the recruitment for kind of like Peace Corps, the back office, like positions as recruiting or anything? Do you handle that, or does that go through a different?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for that side of things, you would need to go to usajobs.gov and check for positions listed under Peace Corps, the agency. And if you're trying to become a volunteer, you'd get in touch with me, or if you're in a different region, a recruiter that could help you with the application process.
Okay. So, what's one piece of information you'd like to leave students with, just kind of as we wrap up today? What's, either if it's information specifically pertaining to virtual fairs and kind of how to really benefit from that, or if it's information that students would specifically need to know if they are really gung-ho and looking forward to becoming a volunteer with the Peace Corps?
Yeah, I'd say just kind of what I sort of said before is to remain really flexible. I think especially with not only Peace Corps, but any employer right now, because things are constantly changing just because of the economy and just for safety reasons. I know for Peace Corps, like, we are fully funded and we have every intention of sending volunteers back, but in terms of when we can send them back, it's TBD, just
Okay.
because every country is different in the way they're handling this, and we need to make sure it's we need to make sure it's safe
Mhm.
in each country to send volunteers back in the capacity that we can send them back in.
Right.
Yeah, so I think like just keeping your options open as you're going into graduation would be really beneficial. Like
Mhm.
something like Peace Corps is a bit more open-ended because we don't have an official timeline, but I think that's good advice just if you're looking into any employer, because just hiring takes time right now
Right.
for anybody. So just to keep that in mind.
Okay. Well, perfect. Yeah, thank you, Ryan, for taking the time out of your schedule
Oh,
to
no problem.
speak with me and provide, such great advice and information for students. We're definitely looking forward to, like always, your participation in the fair, and hopefully you're able to speak with a lot of our students.
Absolutely. No, looking forward to WestPACS. Thanks again.
All right. Well, perfect, Ryan. And you have a wonderful day.
Okay, thanks. See you
All right.
later.
See ya.